Hello, my name is Keith Haswell and I'm a professional astrologer. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this video. This video is video number 50 that I've produced in 2013, and I have another 50 that I want to achieve by the end of the year. Now on this video I'm going to be talking with you about a very important topic. It's a topic that can save you from developing cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and all other manner of immune deficiency syndromes. There is a little disclaimer that I want to put in here though, before I go on with talking to you about overcoming anxiety, and that is that I'm not a professional psychologist, and I'm also not a medical practitioner. So therefore what I say to you here is not to be construed as medical advice. If you have any concerns at all about your physicality and your health, then you are advised to go to your healthcare professional. Now, overcoming anxiety is something that all of us need to listen to and to adhere to, because 25% of the human family are in anxiety, a state of anxiety at any given time. That's by a survey. Now, that's not to say that in any given year that 25% of the community will suffer from anxiety, no. Or that in any given month 25% of the community will suffer from anxiety. I would suggest it's more like 90% will suffer from anxiety in every month, some form of anxiety. And it's important for you to understand what this anxiety is. Now, there's a 3-stage program that I have in line for you here, which is to help you to overcome your anxiety. The first is to know what anxiety is, and the second thing is to know how does it manifest in your life, and the third thing is how do you do your anxiety. The impact that anxiety has upon you is absolutely astounding. It causes cancer. It's the leading cause of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and other immune deficiency syndromes, and Epstein-Barr, lupus, and so forth. Now, where do I get my information? I get my information from my teachers on higher levels. And we're going to be going into anxiety here in a depth that perhaps you haven't been exposed to before. So I suggest that you watch this video all the way through, because it can save your life. Now, anxiety is very, very elusive because it's hard to pin a name on it as to how it's impacting upon you. We're all, in the Western world in particular, the top 100 million people on the planet, we're all in life working hard to unfold our consciousness. We've all lived hundreds of lives before, and we are what's called initiates. The top 100 million people on the planet are what's called initiates. In other words, you have taken at least the first initiation. Now, initiation is a graded expansion of consciousness. That's the name of the game, is consciousness expansion. And as we become more and more conscious, aware in other words, of ourselves, our inner being and our surroundings, so we have a greater exposure and liability to anxiety. because the higher the intelligence, the greater capacity that you have to observe and reflect upon things within yourself. And anxiety is something that creeps up on us. It's like some sort of amoebic cloud that can be there for a month and then just as mysteriously disappear. But all of us are exposed in the human family, in the Western world in particular, to all of these crises that are going on all over the place. We've got wars all over the place, regional wars and wars on terror and so on and so forth. We've got a war on crime. Crime is rife. Violence is rife in our society. And all sorts of addictions, drug addictions, and the war on drugs, and the war on this, and the war on that. And there's all of the stress and tension of our daily life. It's absolutely amazing. There's the world financial crisis that we're all living through. And 30 million people in America alone lost their house in the last 5 years or so. And because of subprime mortgages. And the world financial crisis is hitting everybody. Spain 25%, Greece 25% unemployment. England and Italy, high unemployment. So we're all in a state of anxiety because of all of the things that we see going on around us and all of the things that we experience within ourselves. So what is anxiety? Expanded awareness and expanded consciousness comes in a package. And part of that package is increasing anxiety in our Western world. But you can overcome anxiety by following certain steps. 1, to understand what anxiety is. 2, how do you do your anxiety? And 3, what impact that anxiety has upon you. And by gaining that knowledge, which you will gain from this video, you will then be able to overcome your anxiety and perhaps save yourself from developing cancer or heart disease or diabetes or one of the other diseases that I mentioned earlier. Now, anxiety has many different faces. First of all, it is undefined anger. Anger that you don't know why you have it. Undefined anger is anger that you don't know what it is about, but it's just something that you are angry about inside of yourself. Undefined anger turns into anxiety. It's also undefined hurt, undefined pity, and undefined fear. Some of these fears that we have inside of ourselves, we don't even know what they're about. And so we have this undefined hurt inside of ourselves. I'm hurt, and I don't know why I'm hurt. I just feel hurt. I just feel pity for myself. Self-pity. So this undefined anger, hurt, self-pity, or fear turns into anxiety. The second thing that anxiety is an expectation of error. That you expect somehow that you're going to foul up. You're going to foul up with your finances, or you're going to foul up in dealing with relatives, or you're going to foul up somehow in dealing with your children or your parents. You're going to foul up somehow in the romantic side of your life. You're going to foul up in the job. You're going to make errors and mistakes in your life, in relationships and so forth. You're going to foul up in other ways that you can't define. But it's an expectation that somehow you are going to foul up and that you are going to make errors in judgment and choices and decisions. All of us in life have the same raw materials to create the events and conditions of our life. We have the attitudes and beliefs, the thoughts and feelings, the decisions and the choices. And we mould and shape these raw materials into the events of our life with 3 tools. Nobody has any more tools. And they are desire, imagination, and expectancy. And if we feel that we're going to make bad choices, if we feel that we're going to make bad decisions, then we are going to go into anxiety. The third thing that anxiety is anticipation of rejection, humiliation, betrayal, or abandonment. And so if you have this fear inside of yourself that somebody is going to deceive you or reject you, or that you are in some way going to be humiliated in the work environment or in your social environment or in your relationship or in your family environment, or if you have a feeling that you are going to be abandoned somehow, abandoned and betrayed, then that is a component that will definitely lead to anxiety. This is especially the case in relationships, but in the job, for example, you might have a feeling that you are going to humiliate yourself or be rejected in a job interview. It could be something to do with a relationship, a romantic attachment, that you feel that you're going to be rejected or that you're going to be betrayed or that you're going to be humiliated in some way. It could be to do with finances. But those 4 components of a fear of rejection, humiliation, betrayal, or abandonment are one of the components that will definitely lead to anxiety. The 4th thing that anxiety is unprecedented fun, happiness, joy, and success. Now you might say to yourself, well, how can this lead to anxiety? Well, the fact of the matter is that we're all accustomed to dealing with crises and making a fool of ourselves and crumbling from the ashes of whatever crisis that we've lived our way through. We're accustomed very much to rising above those conditions and rising up out of the ashes and going on with our life. We've made plenty of maps in that regard, but when we start having unprecedented fun or unprecedented success or unprecedented joy or unprecedented happiness, then it's something that's new for us if it's ongoing. And so we start to create anxiety. We start to react in a way that creates anxiety inside of ourselves because we're on territory that we're not accustomed to. And so, yes, that is definitely a component that will lead to anxiety. The 5th thing that anxiety is inappropriate trust. If you put trust into somebody and that trust is not warranted, that will create anxiety, a state of anxiety inside of yourself. Now, for a situation to be a situation of trust, there must be 4 components. One is that there must be a positive and a negative potential. Secondly is that it hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen in the future, either a positive or a negative outcome. Thirdly, is that the negative outcome must be greater and more impactful than the positive outcome. And fourthly, you must genuinely expect that the positive is going to happen. Let me give you an example here. You say to somebody, in terms of putting trust into somebody, you say to somebody, I'm going to tell you something, I'm going to let you in on a secret, but if you tell somebody, then all hell is going to break loose. So there is a positive and a negative potential. Secondly, it hasn't happened yet because you haven't told the person yet. Thirdly, the negative outcome is that if that person betrays the trust and reveals the secret, all hell will break loose. But if the person keeps that secret, then the status quo is reserved. So the negative outcome is greater than the positive potential. And fourthly, you must absolutely and honestly expect that that person will not betray the trust. Now, if you tell that person the secret, and inside of yourself you're saying, oh, this person's going to betray this trust, there's no doubt in the world about that, they're like the world news. Anything that you tell them is quickly spread around. Well, then that's not an honest expectation that the person will uphold the trust. And so therefore that's not a trusting situation. So inappropriate trust is something that will lead to anxiety. Now let's look at the second component of this analysis of anxiety and how to overcome it, and that is, how do you do your anxiety? How do we as human beings do our anxiety in a variety of different ways? And if you can identify the way that you do it, then you're 2/3 of the way towards overcoming your anxiety. The first thing that we do when we are in a state of anxiety is we go into martyrhood. Martyrhood is, oh, no one knows the trouble I've seen. I've sacrificed my life for you. That type of syndrome. So martyrhood expressed will create anxiety, and that is a way that we do our anxiety. The second way that we do our anxiety is we pick fights. We look for the slightest little thing in our partner or our child or our friend or out on the social scene, and we just can't help ourselves. We just pick on the slightest little imperfection there in somebody, and that is the way that we do our anxiety. The third way that we do our anxiety is through worry, an obvious one. We worry about this, we worry about that. Worry is a state of anxiety. And so if we are in that mode of worrying about this and worrying about that and worrying about this, then that is a way of us doing our anxiety. Worry, the way to overcome worry is to say that there's two things that you can be worried about. Something that you can't do anything about and something that you can do something about. If it's in the first category and it's something that we can't do anything about, then it's not the situation or circumstance that's important, it's our reaction to that circumstance. It's like saying that I used to worry about my feet hurting until I saw a person with no feet. So it's not the conditions or events, it's our reaction to those conditions or events. And if it fits into the second category of worry, something that I can do something about, then our task to alleviate the anxiety and make sure that it doesn't go into anxiety is to do something about it. The fourth way that we do our anxiety is through a variety of addictions. Addictions to alcohol, addictions to drugs, addictions to food that is bad for us, or overeating, overindulging, addiction to sex, addiction to overdoing it on the social side of life, addictions to chocolate. So many people are addicted to chocolate. They've got to, when they go into their anxiety, they've just got to have some chocolate. And chocolate releases certain chemicals into the bloodstream that causes calm. Coffee is another form of addiction. Sugar is an addiction. Any food that contains sugar is something that somebody who's doing their anxiety that way will just want to eat food that has plenty of sugar in it, and they pack on the pounds. And then there's a whole range of mechanical addictions, such as tracing the ear, or playing with the chin, or rubbing the nose, or the eyebrows, or any other sort of thing, tapping the fingers, curling the hair, and so many other ways that are mechanical addictions that we do our anxiety through these addictions. We might crack our knuckles, for example. The fifth way that we can do our anxiety is through depression. We can go into states of depression, and those states of depression can last for hours, they can last for days, they can last for weeks. Some depressions can last for years and decades. And so that can be a way whereby we do our anxiety. The sixth way is through righteous blame. Finding anybody to blame for your circumstances in life, or your failures or your shortcomings in life, is one of the favourite ways of doing anxiety. Pointing the finger in righteous blame at this one or that one, or mother or father, or the boss who fired you, or the relationship that broke up, or the child that abandoned you, or whatever. These are ways and means of our doing our anxiety. And the last one that I've got listed here for you, and there's no doubt plenty of others that we can think of, but the last one is procrastination. Putting things off until tomorrow, that which can be done today. Needs to be cleaned, for example, and you say, oh, I've got to clean the house, it's my task, it's my job, it's my responsibility, but it's just too late today, it takes me 3 hours to clean the house properly, and it's now too late in the afternoon, the kids will be home from school soon, or my spouse will be home soon, or whatever, so I just haven't got time, I'll do it tomorrow. When tomorrow comes, gee, I've got this to do or that to do, and I just can't get around to cleaning the house. And you put it off and put it off and put it off, and that is a way whereby we do our anxiety. Now let's look at the third step in this whole process for you to be able to free yourself from anxiety and for you to be able to overcome your anxiety. What impact does anxiety have upon you? And this one is the most powerful impact upon you, is to understand what anxiety does. The first thing that anxiety does, the first impact that it has upon you, is that it robs you of your human gifts. It robs you of your ability to think. It robs you of your ability to perceive, to have perception, and to be able to perceive something, and from that perception to conceive something that is new. That's one of the things that anxiety does to you. That's one of the impacts that anxiety has upon you. It robs you of your ability to think. To think is a human capability and a human need. It's a human talent. The animals can't think. They only work on emotional levels, which is in the form of instinct, which is nascent thinking, what you might say, nascent thought. But we have the capacity as human beings to think, to observe, and to discern, and to discriminate, and to make evaluations and judgments on decisions and choices that we're going to make and directions that we're going to go in. And if we're in a state of anxiety, we are robbed of this capacity to think. Our mind is scattered all over the place and we can't think clearly. We can't discern. We can't determine from that discernment decisions and choices and directions to go in. We are frozen and stuck in a very limited space. The third thing that it does is it robs you of your capacity to feel, your capacity to have passion and compassion. You are in a blinded situation emotionally, and as far as your capacity to feel is concerned, when you are in a state of anxiety. It robs you of your human needs, of survival. You don't feel like eating, you have problems with regard to sleeping, and you don't look after yourself as far as health is concerned when you are in a state of anxiety. You neglect the rituals and the routines of meditation and the rituals and the routines of exercising and walking and things like that. The fifth thing that it does is it robs you of your capacity to imagine, so that your meditations are regarded as ineffective when you are in a state of anxiety, because your imagination is not there. Your creativity spiritually is not there. The sixth thing and the sixth impact that anxiety has upon us is that it fosters perfection. Perfection is not possible in the human condition, because in the human condition the only thing that's constant is change and growth, and perfection is static. So it's all right to make mistakes. It's all right to be human. It's all right. You can forgive yourself for making mistakes. It's normal. It's natural. It's human. But when we are in a state of anxiety, the impact that it has upon us is that it fosters this perfection. Oh, you had a negative thought there. Oh, you had a negative feeling there. Not quite perfect. Oh, you almost had a negative feeling. You almost had a negative thought. Perfection is a trap and part of the impact of anxiety. The seventh thing that anxiety does to you and the impact that it has upon you is that it produces addictions and habits that are self-destructive. The eighth impact that anxiety has upon you is that it alienates you from your spirituality. Your spirituality is your living, loving, breathing relationship with God, Goddess, all that is. And your higher self is that piece of God that you are becoming. As you become more of your higher self, it becomes more of God and Goddess. So anxiety alienates you from your spirituality. The ninth thing and the ninth impact that anxiety has upon you is that it creates physical illness. And this is the most potent and powerful impact of the lot of them. And you will be surprised here on the impact that it does have upon you. Now, the ninth impact that anxiety has upon us is that it releases chemicals into the bloodstream from the brain. When you are in a state of anxiety, this chemical release can and does create crippling illnesses. And this is the way that anxiety impacts upon all of us, is from the release of these chemicals into the bloodstream that do damage to your nervous system, your immune system and everything. And the way that it works is this: when you go into a state of anxiety, your hypothalamus releases neuropeptides into the thalamus, which in turn sends signals into neurotransmitters into the pituitary gland. And that releases a growth hormone into the bloodstream called tryptophan. Tryptophan is a growth hormone that is released through the pituitary and the thymus whilst we are growing up. From the age of 12 to the time that we're fully grown, the amount of growth that there is there in our bones and in our muscles and in the whole of the body is astounding. And that is all carried out through the release of tryptophan, a growth hormone. Now, when we reach the age of 21, or whenever our full growth has happened, the thymus closes down and it no longer releases these growth hormones into the bloodstream. And that's a fantastic thing that happens during our adolescence. But when we are in a state of anxiety, tryptophan is released into the bloodstream, and that is a growth hormone, and that causes cancer. You ask anyone what cancer and tumours are, any medical professional, what cancer is and what tumours are, and they'll say that it's a rapid growth of cells. And that's what causes cancer. That's one of the main causes of cancer and tumours. And it also causes diabetes. And what happens too when this tryptophan is released into the bloodstream, there is a further release of serotonin into the bloodstream. And serotonin is something that produces calm. And serotonin in small amounts will create clear thinking and calm, clarity, so that you can overcome some crisis situation and make the right choices and decisions. But if serotonin is released into the bloodstream over a prolonged period of time and in excess, then it can have devastating impact. It builds up in the bloodstream and it attacks the organs, the kidneys, the liver, the heart and so forth, and causes all sorts of problems with the immune system. And so this is the devastating impact that anxiety has in our lives. And so this is about all I needed to say here on this video about anxiety and how you can overcome your anxiety. So now you understand what anxiety is. You hopefully have an idea in your own mind of how you do your anxiety, and you now know the devastating impact that anxiety has upon you and upon your body and upon your health. And so now you are faced with a choice. You can reflect upon this, replay this video a number of times so that you clearly understand what you are up against when you're dealing with anxiety. It's not just a question of saying, oh, that's just my anxiety. Anxiety is a killer. And so I suggest that you continue to subscribe to my videos so that each new video that comes out will deal with a separate topic that can help you to overcome your anxiety in your life. And also have your horoscope done by me if you haven't had it done already. I'm happy to do your horoscope for you free of charge. Look, we're all on the path of growth. We're all on the path of incarnation. We've all signed up to it and we've all lived hundreds of lives before. We don't remember our past lives because that's part of the plan. God in his wisdom and Goddess in her wisdom have given us a new memory in each life, so that we don't have to remember all of the negative things that we've done and all of the bad mistakes that we've made and all of the hurt and pain that we've caused to other people in previous lifetimes. But look, it's time for us all to expand our understanding and to expand our consciousness so that we can become more aware of who we really are. We are all giants in the making. So I thank you for your attentiveness here, and I look forward to working further with you should you decide to subscribe to my videos, have your horoscope done by me, and to go on further with my intensives. Thank you.